People of Earth, we have come to upgrade your cosmic consciousness. DNA activation ready. In 3, 2, 1.
Hi, welcome to Q&A on Breakthrough Leadership. I'm Lou Quinto.
And I'm Craig Anderson.
Our topic today is going to be the leader's role in developing the business plan. This is something that, obviously if you have a business plan, someone's got to create it. So I guess
start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere. So we'll call it the leader, whether it's CEO, manager of a project, salesperson, develop their own business plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so the three areas that we're going to cover today in talking about the leader developing the business plan is: one, where do we start? Two, what are the milestones that we need to look at in order to make sure we can monitor our progress to get where we're going? And then three, crossing the finish line. What are we going to do when we cross the finish line? So, first topic we're going to talk about is, where do you start on business plans, Greg?
Well, I think for any organization, the business plan starts with the top. It starts with the leader. The leader's got to cast the vision for where we're going to be in 3 years or 5 years or 2 years.
And in a previous video, we did talk about casting visions.
Yeah, we talked about vision casting and how the specificity is important in that.
Right.
So that's really where it starts. And then the leader sets down the objectives for the current year that are going to get you to that larger 3-year vision. And it starts there, and then that comes down to the next level of leaders. The leaders take the pieces of that vision that they're responsible for. Mm-hmm. It goes down further. They take the pieces they're responsible for, and everybody, in an organization that's functioning well, there's alignment from top to bottom. So you don't have somebody down over here working on a project that has nothing to do with what the leader's doing.
Well, see, your key word that you used there was functioning well.
Right.
Because a lot of times there may be a business plan for a company. If I work in a big company, Fortune 500 type company, I'm sure there's a business plan.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, I know there's a business plan, but it's filtering that down through the rest of the organization,
right,
which is where I find a lot of that business plan gets lost, because the individuals that are involved really they may push it down from C-level, from the CEO level down to maybe the executive vice president level. But then what happens at the executive vice president level, everyone grabs their piece from the main business plan, but then business plans don't exist beyond that. And so what you're saying in this particular instance is, no matter what kind of leader you are, based on where you are in the hierarchy, you've got to have a business plan.
Right. That vertical integration of the business plan is really important, because otherwise you have people chasing off doing other things. I mean, the purpose of the leader's vision and every subsequent iteration of that through the organization is to say, this is where we're going. This is, you don't want to have, you lay out a map that says we're going from Indianapolis to Houston. And if that isn't all the way lined down through the organization, before you know it, somebody's off, in Kansas City or San Francisco buying RVs when the vision says we're going to be doing it in cars.
Right.
And so there's a danger of things getting out of control down at the lower levels, and you've got to have that very concrete vision working out.
And so what you're saying is, even if I only manage 3 or 4 people, perhaps I should have a business plan that involves those 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, and we've talked about it in other videos around employee engagement. But when people understand the larger vision of the organization, and they understand what their role and what their responsibility is and how their job ties to that, that's a factor in lifting employee engagement. So I think it's very important for everybody to know all the way through, how does what I'm doing every day tie into where we're trying to go? Right. Whether I'm building widgets or whether I'm building a company that's going to save the world. You need to know what your role is in it. So I think this helps.
Yeah, and also by creating that business plan, it also gives you the ability to really stay on track for the metrics that you're being judged on, annual reviews, quarterly reviews, whatever they are, when it comes to your performance. And so that business plan should be tied to those metrics that are used for your quarterly reviews or annual reviews.
Yeah, God help us if they're only annual reviews, but yes.
Yes, exactly. So, second topic we're going to cover is identifying milestones. As with any plan, obviously you want to have goals. Mm-hmm. If you're going to climb Mount Everest, which I've never done, but you go from one plateau to another plateau until you get to the top. And your milestones then happen to be those plateaus. And there are a variety of milestones. You can have it based on revenue milestones, obviously. You can have it on customer satisfaction milestones, or a number of customers that you're dealing with, a number of amount of product that's sold. And so that's all part of, and again, going back to your plan, what exactly is it that you're trying to accomplish?
Right.
And then using those milestones and breaking them down into smaller bites.
Right.
So that on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, you can sit down and say, where are we at? And then if you need to adjust, it's better to adjust in February than in November,
Right.
when you realize you're not going to hit plan.
Right.
So so all those milestones, break 100 yards down, football, break 100 yards down into 10 yards.
Right.
You go 10 yards and you know what those milestones are to get to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, well, every plan starts with all the best of intentions, and it's a solid plan until it encounters reality as soon as you roll it out. But I think one of the things that I like to work with my clients and customers is kind of a future casting. So if this is where I'm going to end up, if this is what I look like at the end of that 12-month period, what will I have done leading up to that? So if it's December 31st, I'm going to generate X million in revenue as a salesperson. What did I do in December? What did I do by the end of the fourth quarter? What did I do? And start working your way back to think through in your mind, what were all the successful events and activities that got me there?
Okay.
And that helps to kind of identify what those milestones are.
So you can look at it from two ways.
Events,
You
yeah.
can look at it standing at the finish line and
Yeah.
looking back and saying, okay, how do we get here?
Yeah.
Or you can stand at the start line and say, okay, there's where we need to go. Let's go ahead and let's plan how we're going to get there.
Yeah, and the reason I like to start at the end is it presumes success.
Oh.
Right? Because if I start at the beginning, it's like, how am I going to get up Mount Everest? As opposed to, I've climbed Mount Everest. What did I do in all the preceding months of training to get there? What were my milestones that allowed me to achieve this goal? So I think it's goals from January, looking at some big hairy number you've got out there at the end of December, can be a really intimidating place to start, because you're starting from, I don't even know how I can get there.
Right.
Start with presuming success and then work your way back from there is how I like to approach it.
Okay.
So.
And then the third topic we're going to cover is crossing the finish line. And when you cross, most people, when they cross the finish line, it's okay, we did it. We achieved our 15% increase in revenue, or 15% increase in products sold, whatever it may be. And then you know what? You got to turn the page and you're starting all over again. And a lot of people miss, in my opinion, they don't do the critical thinking process necessary to look back and actually take time and one, as you say, first celebrate. So, you know, if you want a day at the spa or you want to go golfing or whatever it may be, celebrate your win, but then look back and try to identify those obstacles that you encountered. It's sort of a little process improvement.
Right.
Okay, what did we do well? What didn't go well? What did we do to fix it? Did it actually fix it? So that when you're preparing the next business plan, you are being able to avoid all the problems in the past, or, you know, the old adage, you're not recreating the wheel every single year.
Right.
And you're being able to refine that process. You find enough people do that?
No, I think a lot of people just kind of come along and make the mistake of saying, all right, I got there, and then they look at the next big mountain in front of them.
Right.
And it just becomes another process of, well, here we go again.
It's psychologically exhausting.
It's very exhausting, but, you know, like you said, take the time, you know, or as I guess you said, I said, celebrate the success, but, you know, don't lose track of all the great things you've done before you start climbing that next mountain, and take the time to learn the lessons to say, all right, of all the things I did last year, if I do more of this, I'll hit my goal faster, and if I do less of this, and start really doing, like you said, the critical thinking analysis to say, all right, what should I do more of? What should I do less of as I start climbing that next mountain?
What if December 31st comes and we didn't actually accomplish what we set out to do?
Well, we start our resume. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think you look back and start, as you said, you break down. It's very much the same process. Maybe you don't go out and buy that car you've always wanted, but you do sit back and say, okay, why did we miss? What were the things that didn't go according to plan? What were the things we didn't anticipate that hit us? Mm-hmm. You know, year-long plans are, a year doesn't seem like a long time, but it's also an incredibly long time. Regulatory changes can hit, you know, competitors can enter your market you didn't foresee.
Technology changes.
Yeah, so it's really important to kind of step back, and or maybe something came up that just took a lot more of your time than you thought. Mm-hmm. So it's important to break down what went wrong and what went right, so you can really understand why did we make that miss, and then start building some of those factors into the plan for next year.
Okay, good. So our key takeaways from today. One thing that I would say is a key takeaway is no matter where you are in the organization, you should have a business plan. You should have a business plan. If you are responsible for a department, if you're responsible for a team, there should be some sort of business plan. And sometimes those business plans could be 12 months, sometimes they're not 12 months.
Correct.
Sometimes they could be just the length of the project. If it's a 5-month project, that you create your business plan to be able to do that.
Right.
And then set your milestones to make sure that you, one, know when you're accomplishing or you can see your progress on those. But the other thing too is when setting those milestones, be sure that they're based on the metrics that your performance is being evaluated on.
Right.
Because you want to make sure that you're hitting those numbers as well. And then last, when you cross that finish line, don't just go across and throw your arms up and let the tape just dangle on your chest. Look back and say, how did we get here, and what can we do different next time to do it better?
I think my takeaway is, and this kind of comes to a lot of things I bring up in the series, is it starts with the leader.
Mm-hmm.
It's the leader casting the vision. It's the leader saying we're gonna roll this down through the organization and we're gonna get the alignment that we need. And I think those are the activities and behaviors that guarantee success. And then I think the other piece is the critical thinking piece, really breaking down what went well and what didn't, so we can do an even better job next year.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right, well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode of Q&A on Breakthrough Leadership. If you liked this particular video, click on the like button, leave a comment if you want. If there's a topic that you want us to cover in the future, please go ahead and write that down as well. Subscribe to Q&A on Breakthrough Leadership so that you know when the next podcast is going to be available.
And do us a favor and share it with your friends and colleagues, and share it with people who need the advice of becoming a better leader by setting some of these examples we outlined. So thank you very much.
Okay, hope you learned something today. Again, I'm Lou Quinto.
And I'm Craig Anderson.
Thanks.